Hello friends, in the last video we configured the S2 database. So for that S2 database we added this dependency, and after that we added some property in our properties file, application.properties file. So these properties we added in a last video. If you not check that video, please check that video, the link in the description. In this video we will save the user data in our S2 database. So let's create let's create the repository for that. So in the last video we already created this entity, so we will reuse this entity. So first of all we will create one repo. Let's create one package, repo. In that repo package we will create one interface, that is user repo. Okay, so we will extend that CRUD repository. It will take the two argument, that is first argument is just our user entity class. Okay, and third one is our primary key, that is data type. Okay, so we created this repo. Now we will create one service, and in that service we will write one method which call this user repo and it will save the data. So let's create a package, that is service. Okay, so first of all create one interface, that is user service. Okay, and create one implementation for this service. Implementation. So in this we will create one method, that is the public user DTO and create user. It will take the two arguments. It will take one argument, that is user DTO. Let me copy this. So as of now we not created this user DTO. Let's create the user DTO. So create one DTO package. Okay, this package is created. Let's create one DTO. So already pasted that one code. Just it contain the user ID, first name, last name, email, and password. So we will take this data from the user as a post request. So let's go in a user service. Let's import this import class. Okay, let's implement this user service in our implementation. Create one class, that is the user service IMPM. Okay, which will implement our user service. Okay, and we will unimplemented method. We will implement this unimplemented method. So that is this method will receive this user DTO and it will return this user DTO. So I will tell you what it will do, and after that go to the controller and create one method which receive the post request to save the user data. Okay, so we already have this controller created, and let's create one method. Let's create one method, public response entity, and create user. Let's import this class, create user. Okay, @request body to take this user DTO, that is request body, and we will add this user DTO. Okay, now we created this. Let's mark this as a post request, post mapping, and the URL will be create, right? Because we have this on class level, we have this user and the URL will be user create. Let's auto wire that, direct auto wire user service. Okay, we created this user service, or we already implemented the method. Let's call this user service dot create user, and pass the user DTO here, right? So this method again will it return the user DTO. So let's get that user DTO from user service and return it as a response. Okay, done it. Okay, let's import this HTTP test will be created, and we will add this as a user created user DTO. Okay, now the request this create user, while creating user, this method will trigger. It will call this create user and go to the implementation. In the user implementation, we have to convert this user DTO to the user entity. So for that, I already write one implementation. So I will copy this. Now we will create one method which will convert the user DTO to the user entity. And again, we will create the similar method that will convert this user entity to the user DTO. Okay. So both method we will create. So first of all, we will create one package that is the common utility. Okay, common utility, and we will create one class in that common utility method. Okay, let's import this. Let me explain what is this class is doing. Okay, setter getter is not present in the user DTO. Let's go and create the setter getter method. Let's import this class, common utility class. Let me copy this class and paste here. Okay, let me explain what this class is doing. Okay, so first of all, we will receive this request, request from the controller, and we will convert that user DTO to the user entity. So for that, we created this method map user DTO to the user entity. It will take the user DTO and just map it will to the map value to the user entity. Nothing complex. Auto wire the user repo. Okay, let me explain you the whole code. First of all, we created this method. In that method, we will receive the post request, which will contain the user DTO. And after that, we will call the user service method. We already created this method. So we will call this method, go to the implementation. In that create user method, we receive this user DTO. Now we need the user entity. So we will map this user DTO to the user entity. For that, we created one class, common utility class. In that utility class, we will write all the common code in that common utility class. So in that common utility class, we created one method that is you map user DTO to the user entity, right? We receive this user DTO and we created one user entity object. We map all these first name, last name, email, and user entity to this user entity from that user DTO. Okay, so password as of now I have set manually because in a further video we will set the encrypted password. So for that I set this password at manually. Now once we save the user object in the database, so it will return the user entity. So now again we will convert this user entity to the user DTO as our return type is the user DTO. In the now after that in the controller it will receive that user DTO, right? Here user DTO, and we will give the response that http status goes 200 that is created and the user DTO. In the next video we will check how we can save this user object in our S2 database. Thank you.